Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Hope you are doing well. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and what your current score is and what you are aiming for. Hey, Ozba, how's it going? Good to see you again. Hey, Nada. Nice to meet you. How's everyone doing today? I figured it was you again. Good to see you again. Very nice. I have to figure out, because when I look at this, I'm looking away from the video, but if I pull my YouTube thing on this screen, it's going to get in the way of the screen share. So I do have to figure out how to make it so that I'm looking at the camera while I'm looking at the screen. I'll figure it out. Nada says, my current score is 1070 and I'm aiming for at least a 1200. Nice. Very good. Totally reasonable. When was the last time you, your 1070, is that like a while ago or is that very recent? Thank you, Ozba. Glad spreading the word. Really appreciate it. I am also wanting to announce that I'm planning on streaming more often. So I was sleeping on it, and I really love the live stuff. The live stuff is easier for me to do than the pre-recorded video stuff. It's a lot of editing. It takes a lot of time. And so I was thinking of doing something that's not like 2 hours, maybe like an hour, but more on like a weekly basis. And we'll just go over like each hour will be like a different topic, and it will allow me to make videos about it, lessons about it, and create material, that sort of thing. So I really like that idea of just taking an hour and honing in on one particular thing and just doing it on a weekly basis or something. That would make it very easy for me to do. So yeah, and I want to do everything. I want to do like AI. I want to do college essays. I really want to give a lot of the stuff that I've really only taught to my students for the last like 10 years. I really want to give it out. And then my courses and my one-on-one is really for those that like want that like deeper dive. But I really want to put what I teach out into the world. And there's just some stuff that even with my one-on-ones in my classes, like sometimes I don't even have enough time to go over everything I want to. So this is also a place for that as well. So I'm just like really excited about it. Let me see here. It's very recent from last week. Nice. That's great. That's great. Don't worry about it. It's a good start. And we're not at the time where, well, I don't know, because this is an international audience, so I don't know where are you a sophomore? Are you a junior? Are you a senior? Like, let me know where you are in your journey too, because that is also a good thing to know. And Ozba, what are you a junior, sophomore? What are you? I don't think I know. I would guess junior, but I don't know. You might be very ahead of the game. Okay, cool. Yeah. You're still really ahead of the game. So part of what I made today, I had you in mind actually, because where did I go? Here it is. So I created like 10 harder questions, and I actually went over them and I double checked everything, and I made sure that it was really good. I think this should be on my website. I'm running it on my local thing here, but I'm pretty sure this should be on my website and it should be up. Yeah, it's good to go. It's here. Okay, good. So these are harder questions, and you can go to this page. I'll post this page here. And this is the page with, can I pin this? I can pin this. Okay, good. So I pinned it. So this is going to be where you can kind of practice and go along. I'm going to be probably like, this is going to be a group chat. Nada is on the 1070 side of things. You're on the 1500 side of things. Asba. So I'm going to try and go like a little back and forth. But what you can do is I've put this here so you can just choose what you want to do. And if I'm doing like an easy stuff that's too easy for you, just continue with some of the hard questions, and then I'll loop back around and I'll try and go back and forth. So that's the way that I'll kind of work with it for today, but I'll be like moving around. I'll do like little sections of stuff. And no matter the difficulty, like Nada, even when I'm doing a hard question, there are going to be hard questions in module 2. If you do well on the first module, you'll get a harder second module. So you want to learn how to deal with these harder ones too. And all of the patterns in the harder questions also apply to the easier ones. So it's kind of like batting, like with baseball. If you bat with 2 bats, you get really used to swinging with a lot of weight. And then when you bat with 1 bat, it feels very easy. So working on like questions that are harder is just a really good habit to get into with your studying anyway. So that is this. Do you two, can you confirm that you can access the website? I just want to make sure that you can get here and you can see it on yours. And I was just working on, nice. Okay, great. I was just working on, I'll give you a little sneak peek of something that's coming next. I was just working on a video that is, I'm seeing a lot of videos come up from my colleagues that are saying stuff like always choose letter A or letter B or C or D. Like everyone has their own favorite letter. And I don't believe anything unless I see the data to back it up. So no one shared any data for it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll use AI to count up all the letters on all the tests, and I'll do a statistical analysis of it, and I'll share that. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm making a video about that. So that should be out probably in like within a week or so. But I want to it's like I'm going to do a very deep analysis on each section. Is there a precedence? Is each test, is there a precedence? Like, even if there is a most frequent letter, should you choose it anyway, like, or not? Like, if CollegeBoard watches my video and they know that someone's cracked the code, are they going to change what they do? Like, so I'm going to go into all that stuff. I'm really excited about it because I think it's going to finally put an end to this question. So I kind of want to make the ultimate video about that. So I've been working on that, and already a lot of stuff has been debunked. So I'm very excited to put it out there. I hope that my colleagues don't hate me for it. I'm friends with a lot of these people, like we're friends, but I have to tell the truth. So, hopefully it inspires everyone to be a little bit more data driven with their process too. So, anywho, so, let's see. Okay, cool. Nice. All right. So we're going to get started soon. Any questions before we begin? Oh, and your PSAT nada, I see. Okay. Nice. All right. Okay, so we'll get started with one of these we're going to start with one of these difficult reading questions. And then we'll see where we want to go from there. We'll see and check in Nada. Let me know if you have any questions. If anyone has any questions in the chat, please feel free to share. It's really helpful for me to hear what you're confused about or what you have a question about. And this is an opportunity to actually get feedback from a tutor that has been doing this for 10 years and my full-time job here. So it's like just living and breathing the SAT all day. So feel free to ask. That's why I'm here. So I'll be quiet now and you can do this question. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, give it a try and then put your answers in the chat when you are done. Give it another 30 seconds. I should put a little timer up here. I wanted to do that. All right. Thirty more seconds. I don't want an alarm, but okay, cool. All right. I think DuckDuckGo has a timer. Let's see the timer. Okay, there we go. All right. So let's get started with this one. All right. Right off the bat, we've got a transition word. So I'm just going to highlight these. This is a contrast one. And we have another one over here and another one over here. Okay. So I've just can see the structure and we've got another one actually over here. Lots of contrast words. All right. Though this person largely fit within an established intellectual framework. So that's another way of saying that this person, again, I'm not getting caught in the details. I don't want to spend too much mental energy thinking about her name. Just this person was within a conventional way of thinking. She also pursued some groundbreaking stuff. So this person was both within a tradition and outside of, like, she did something groundbreaking. That's the main idea of this. Okay? And this is what she did differently. So many of the people that were there relied on data, and she traveled extensively to observe societies firsthand. As a result, it's more personal. Okay, do you see how I'm summarizing everything in very simple language? That's one of the best things you can do with these. It's going to be very hard the first time you try to do what I'm doing, but if you keep practicing it, you'll get really good at it, and you won't be intimidated by these complex passages anymore. Despite something to the prevailing intellectual norms of her time. So we know that idea already because that's up here. What was she with regard to the prevailing intellectual norms of her time? Well, she was within them, right? That's what this says. She fit within the intellectual frameworks of her time, but she also did some groundbreaking stuff by doing something new. So despite blah something, she enriched the scope of her inquiry. So this is focusing on the fact that she did something new. So then over here, we have to emphasize the fact that she was within the conventional way of thinking. So I've got that answer in my head now. And let me see if any of these answers work. Despite acquiescence means to like give into something. If you're acquiescing to something, you're giving into it. So that's weird. That's like a very weird word. Now, I imagine that many of you didn't know what that word meant. And if you don't know what a word means, just put like a question mark next to it and move on. In your mind, obviously. You can't like put a question mark. Hey, Noaz, how are you? Welcome. So, but now I told you the definition of this word, but if you didn't know it, just pretend you didn't. Despite hostility, that's the wrong direction. Hostility is definitely the wrong direction. She was not hostile. This is wrong. Despite conformity, that looks good. That's the same idea that we had up here. She largely fit within the established intellectual framework. That's looking good. Despite obligation, no, she didn't feel any. There's no hint that she felt an obligation to her time. That makes a jump in logic that's not warranted by the text. So this one should be conformity. And let's see. All right, we got the confetti. Very nice. All right, let's try another one. So try this one. I'll get the timer up here. About 1 minute and 30 seconds. Where can I put this? It's not in the way. All right, 5 more seconds. Put your answers in if you have them. Well, that's a little annoying, that bell. I should stop it before it does that. Okay. Ozba, when you put a question mark at the end of your questions, what's your confidence level? Are you like a 7 out of 10, or are you like a 9 out of 10, or a 5 out of 10? Like, where are you in your confidence? I'm curious. Okay. Well, while you're telling me, I'll start to go over this. Okay. Not seeing too many transition words here. We have this correlative conjunction, but that doesn't really matter so much. Yeah, not a lot here. So I'm going to need to mentally break this up. Okay. So this person, very famous woman, remain widely recognized for their meticulous. Okay, so she was very detailed in chimpanzee behavior observations. Okay, so this is important. It's telling us that something was overlooked. Is that she did a lot of public outreach. Okay, so she's well known for something and she's less known for this other thing that was really important. Okay, so this is just an example of the previous thing. This whole thing here is just an example of the previous thing. So we don't need to get lost in the detail of this. This is literally just more of the same idea. And I think that is really important to notice. You want to, as you're reading, you want to think to yourself, is this more of the same idea or is this another idea? And that will help you kind of integrate and synthesize your thinking. Okay, let's continue. So this is now getting into what she did. What are the effects of this? This is the consequence of it. It had a lot of beneficial effects, right? This is all this is. It had a lot of beneficial effects. That's basically what it is. Now, Goodall's approach to public engagement was blank her broader mission to harmonize human and wildlife coexistence. Okay, so I want a positive word to go in here. I don't want a negative word. I'm playing positive, negative, neutral. I don't want a negative word in there because it's got to be related to her bigger mission, which was a good thing. So, okay. So irrelevant to, no, that's a negative word. That doesn't work. Unrelated to, negative word. That doesn't work. Intrinsic to, I like that. Public engagement was intrinsic to her broader mission. That sounds really good. Because intrinsic to is saying that it was an inherent part of her work. So that's really good. That sounds very good. Let's check D. Goodall's approach to public engagement was supported by her broader mission. No, that doesn't make sense. This is a weird thing to say because her broader mission doesn't have agency. So it can't support something. So this is a wrong answer type for vocab that I call incorrect anthropomorphism or incorrect personification. This is another way you can think about it. Incorrect personification. It tries to give a human-like quality to something that it can't have. So here, yeah, a mission can't support her public engagement. That's a very weird thing to say. So, okay. Very good. Any questions so far about anything? Any questions or comments? All right, let's move on to the next one. Oh, where did I lost my timer? Okay. So let's go to the next question. All right, give this a try. All right, cool. Let's go over it. Got your answer. Okay. So you're doing well. You're getting a lot of these correct. Even though you said vocab was a weakness, these are definitely hard vocab questions, and you're getting them right. So that's very good. Okay. Ah, yes. Nice noticing. Okay, yeah, we got a little contrast word here. I don't see any other major ones, transition words from skimming. So let's start the problem. So this person spent months in a place recording the oral histories passed down. Okay. Local storytellers. All right. So this is just getting into the details of what she studied. That's all that's going on. Okay, so this is where we're actually getting to some meat here, that several people thought these stories that were told by the locals were contradictory and inconsistent. So there were some stories that were told that there was a lost city that just suddenly disappeared. And what they're saying is that this was likely made up here, it seems. Some experts speculated that these might be right, like made up, created, whatever, something like that. But this person actually unearthed textual references suggesting that the vanished settlement may have been real. Yeah, so this is actually, I would say, maybe on the easier side of hard, because they did give us a really, really, really nice contrast word here. And then because this is real, you said it exactly perfectly, Asba, that this has to be something about made up. Now, maybe this is hard because we look at the words here, and a lot of these words actually kind of mean that. They're very close together in meaning. So phantasmagorical, for those of you who don't know this word, this is like dreamlike. This is like, when I think of this, I think of like dreamlike visions. So it does mean like made up, but that's not what's going on here. This is the wrong type of specificity. It's not dreamlike. It's just imaginative, which is exactly what B is. So B is looking very good. And then let's go through the other ones. Ephemeral. This is a beautiful word. Ephemeral means short-lived. I think this came up yesterday too. And speculative means that it's you're making a leap of logic on the basis of something beyond the given information. And that's not entirely what they're stressing here. It's not that it was speculative. Speculative is, you wouldn't say something is speculative if you're imagining it. You say speculative when you're predicting something and you're trying to imagine what it could be, but it's more like a prediction. You're using your imagination to predict something rather than just letting the imagination go. And that's what we're looking for here, that maybe this was just a product of the imagination. So this was actually hard because of the answer choices were hard, not because the passage was hard. So nice job with that one. Let's move on to the next one. Get a timer again. All right. Give it a try. right. Osba says B. Let's check it out. Okay. So, Moby Dick, Ishmael is the character's name. So, describes the powerful allure he feels towards faraway places. So, allure means a mysterious attraction to something. If something has allure, it has a mysterious and unsayable attractiveness. In this excerpt, he reflects on his motivations for seeking out the unknown and confronting potential dangers at sea. I am tormented with an everlasting itch for things remote. So this person really loves, he doesn't really mean torment. This is being used poetically. You have to be very careful of interpreting things literally with literature passages. He's not actually tormented. It's just exaggerating how much he wants to go to faraway places. I love to sail. See, he loves it, right? So it's not torment. He loves it. I love to sail forbidden seas and land on barbarous coasts, not ignoring what is good. I am quick to perceive a horror and could still be social with it, would they let me, since it is but well to be on friendly terms with all the inmates of the places one lodges in. I love this book. So this is very kind of funny and humorously said, but the basic idea here is I could still be social with it. This is basically saying I'm able to, one, I can pick out what's, like, even though I'm in these kind of like weird places that are barbarous, right? Like this is kind of like a negative connotation. I'm still able to find what's good in them. And I'm quick to perceive the negative things. And then he jokes around that he could still be social with it, but these are people. So there's a lot going on here. He says that these are, all the inmates of the place one lodges in. So this is a very, very, very complex and dense way to say that he makes friends with the people where he goes. It's a very poetic and dense way to say that, but that's basically what he's saying. And all kinds of people, and you can see the good in them, etc. Okay, so what is the main purpose of the text? Well, if I'm predicting the answer before I look at the answer choices, he's definitely going into detail about what is the draw for him and what does he do when he gets there. That seems to be what he's talking about. So it's to explain himself and to talk a little bit about what he loves about and how he is when he travels. Okay. To illustrate how the narrator's longing for distant realms help him reconcile internal conflicts. Where does he have an internal conflict? I don't see an internal conflict anywhere. I think what that was trying to do, notice something. This is another like partial correct thing. Like this is looking good, but then boom, it just like goes bad in the second part. You got to be very careful of this. The SAT loves to do this, where they will like bury something incorrect about the answer choice all the way at the end, but they put something really enticing in the beginning, so you get disarmed and you stop thinking and reading. So just make sure that doesn't happen. If any part of the answer choice is wrong, the whole thing is wrong. There's no such thing as a partially correct answer. A partially correct answer is completely wrong. Okay. B, to reveal that the narrator regards unknown territories, so that's good, that's on topic, with both fascination, good, and apprehension. That doesn't sound right. Apprehension is fear. Apprehension is fear. I don't see him fearing anything here. This is keyword matching. You might, if you just glance at this very quickly, you might think, oh, well, it says the word horror and it says the word torment. But when you really read and understand what's going on, This is something he loves. This is something he loves. So this is we have to put these words in context here and not, this is called keyword matching. Keyword matching is a very, very, very prevalent wrong answer pattern. Keyword matching is a wrong answer pattern. So be very careful of this pattern. It's when you see words, but you're not necessarily putting the full idea together. And typically students will keyword match when they're really confused and they're just trying to do the best with what they can. But what you have to try and do, if you catch yourself keyword matching and you're just really paying attention to a few words and you're amplifying them too much, what you should do instead is you should try to idea match. You want to match ideas, not words. So match ideas, not words. So what that means is you have to simplify the ideas. You're going to hear me say this 4,000 times, that so much of the SAT is about simplifying and not getting lost in details. Because the only thing that makes this hard is how old and weird the language is. But if you just get the main gist, that he's just making friends with people. It's all that's like going on here. He's talking about how much he loves to travel and he likes to find the people that are, fun to connect with, and then he connects with them. So that's all that's going on here. So, okay, let's look at C. To underscore how the narrator's willingness to confront the unfamiliar, okay, that's on topic, reflects a deeper quest for knowledge. Okay, that's not what I would have said. I'm not going to choose this right away. I'm going to put a question mark here. I'm going to put a question mark and a check. I kind of like it, but it's not what I would choose. So I'm just going to be careful. I'm not going to jump at C because it's not entirely what I thought the right answer should be, but hey, that happens all the time. So, but if this happens to you, don't choose it too quickly and don't be too skeptical of it either. You're just going to be open around it. Okay, D, to argue that the narrator's attraction to remote places, it's on topic, stems from a rejection of conventional life. No, there's no hint of that at all. Okay, well, since we've clearly eliminated 3, which is a very important strategy, there's only one left standing that could even possibly be right, and it was the one that we liked the most. So it's got to be C. All right, so let's give it a try. Okay, very nice. All right, so let's reset the timer, go to the next one. Oh, I keep doing that. Keep hiding the timer by accident. I'll find an app that's the timer is always on top and it looks really nice. Okay, give this one a try. And whoever came in, feel free to share your answers in the chat as well. All right, give your final answers. I'm going to spare us of the bell. All right, and let's take a look at this. Cool topic, quantum entanglement. All right, so it is very tested. They're focusing on how tested it is. This is a main purpose question. Okay, so let's see. With numerous experiments showing correlations that cannot be explained by purely local interactions. This is very important when you're reading a science passage. You want to find the inadequacy of our current understanding. So science passages are typically going to point this out. So science passages will typically point out an inadequacy in our understanding. Make note of this. These are very important things to take note of when you're reading a science passage. So I'll leave that up for a second. But let's continue. So just a new. Okay, so we have a proposed possible. Here's our but. We have a proposed possible rejection of these. Oh, I'm sorry. I went ahead. Some of these could be undermined. So basically, we thought things were local. We thought things were non-local because they can't be explained by local interactions. And then other people were saying, hey, maybe non-local influences aren't as important as we thought. And now we've got this transition word but, so now we're going to contradict that too. These claims lack evidence. So looks like maybe non-local is still okay. Instead, the preponderance of evidence continues to support the violation of local realism. That's a very cool phrase, predicted by quantum mechanics. So this is saying that, okay, let's synthesize this so far. It looked like maybe non-locality was maybe going to get tossed out a little bit. But no, it turned out that non-locality, or the violation of local realism, which is probably one of the coolest phrases I've heard all day. That's very cool. Looks like that is still intact. Okay, we got another although. This thing is filled with transition words. Debates endure. People are still talking about this. No conclusive research has yet overturned the non-local character widely accepted in the scientific community. So yeah, this is stressing over and over and over and over again that non-locality is doing well. So let's see here. Let's go through the answer choices and see. No, it's not reconciling diverse viewpoints. That's not what it's doing. And it's definitely not doing this either. A is very wrong. A is wrong for multiple reasons. To highlight unresolved challenges in experimentally confirming. To highlight unresolved challenges. This is an interesting phrase. In experimentally confirming that local models can match quantum predictions? No, they're not. They're not matching quantum predictions. That's what we saw here. They don't have any evidence behind them. So I don't think B makes sense. To suggest that most evidence favors quantum entanglements. Okay, that's clearly correct. That's exactly what we predicted. And it's very straightforward and it's right there. Just to go over D while we're here. To propose a new experimental design. No, it doesn't do that. Okay, it's C. It's got to be C. There's a lot of C's in this. And like I said, I'm doing a video on that soon. Do not get scared if you get a lot of the same letter in a row. Randomness is clumpy. When you look up into the sky, you don't see that every single star is evenly spaced from every other star. It's not a grid. It's not like a rectangular grid of stars, right? You see clumps. There's a clump of stars there. There's not a lot of stars over here. They make these beautiful shapes. Well, that's how randomness actually works. And on the SAT, what that means is that you're going to get a random clump of a bunch of letters in a row sometimes. That doesn't mean they're messing with you. That doesn't mean that they're, whatever. Don't try and psychologically interpret the test. There's no rhyme or reason to getting a lot of C's in a row or getting a lot of B's in a row. That is normal randomness. It's going to happen. So in this case, we have gotten a lot of C's in a row. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It is correct. Make all of your focus be on just what is the right answer. Don't try to psychologically analyze the test. Okay, let's do this next one. And if you're just coming in, feel free to introduce yourself and say hi and give the question a try and share your answer in the chat. Catch it that time. Sorry about that. I don't know if you can hear that, but that was very loud. Sorry. Okay, let's give this a try now. You said C again, or is that from your previous one? Did you put an answer in, Asba? Okay, let's continue. Let's see. All right, so now we're from Frankenstein. And his fervent, that's very, very passionate, desire to discover new paths and push the boundaries of human knowledge. Good. A little confused on this one. Okay, good. Okay. Hello, Exo King. We got a couple of votes for maybe A. We'll see. All right. I feel my heart glow with enthusiasm, which elevates me to heaven. For nothing contributes so much to tranquilize the mind as a steady purpose. That's a very powerful, beautiful statement. A point on which the soul may fix its intellectual eye. So all of this so far seems to be saying that this character really feels a strong sense of purpose, and that this strong sense of purpose is actually centering the person emotionally a little bit. So that's a cool thing. It is this glorious pursuit. Pay attention to words like that, where they're very, very strong, powerful words, that has for many years been the dream of my ardent curiosity. So we got a lot of passion. There's like 50 passion words in this. Lots and lots and lots of passion words. So let's see. The main purpose of the text seems to be, well, this one's kind of hard to predict. So let's actually just look through and let's see. Lots of votes for A. Let's see. To emphasize how Walton's eagerness for discovery, yeah, that looks good, fosters a sense of higher purpose that drives his Arctic quest. This is good. The only thing I'm curious about is, does it drive his Arctic quest? I'm not sure. This gives it a sense of a cause-effect relationship. So I'm not sure about that. I like it. I like A. I see why you would like it. Let's continue. To claim that Walton's quest for knowledge arises from a yearning for personal acclaim, that is definitely wrong. There's no indication here at all that he desires personal acclaim. That's not correct. That would be like fame. He doesn't want fame. This whole thing is about his curiosity and his passion. So that's not correct. To illustrate how Walton's unwavering resolution is a consistent source of tranquility and emotional strength in his life. Okay, this is a true statement, but it's not the main idea. This is true, but it's not the main idea. So it's like a secondary idea. This is true, but it's not the main idea. It's also too extreme, actually. If you look at it, there's another problem with it. This is too extreme. We don't have information about his entire life. This is looking more wrong the more I think about it. In his life, this is like one example, right? So we can't go from this one example to this person's entire personality for his entire life. This feels a little too extreme. And this is more secondary. It's possibly true, but it's not a must be true. To reveal that Walton's main motivation is to break free from the monotonous routines of everyday life. No. That is not indicated here. It might be true, but it's not in the text. So I would say this is an A. This is an A. All right. For those of you coming in, feel free to introduce yourself. Let me know where you are. And if you're a junior, sophomore, what your current SAT score is and what your target SAT score is. And we can also, I'll add a little bit more time to the timer. Give you time to share in the chat if you want. I missed it. Sorry, I keep missing this. Okay, cool. So we've got a B. Put your final answers in here and we'll go over it. Okay. So this we are looking for the function of this underlined portion, which starts with a transition word, a contrasting transition word. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Okay, 2 votes for B. Cool. Let's see. All right. So this is the advent of the printing press, and it's distributing a lot of works in Europe. And early presses, we're going to focus on these early ones, such as this, focused on religious texts. Okay, it produced Bibles and other materials at greater volume and speeds than ever before. Okay, so now, really turning the attention on and paying attention to this, while these specialized volumes were mostly directed towards monastic libraries, okay, the technology soon found broader application. Okay, So there's our contrast, and this is the main idea that we want to focus on here. These specialized volumes while these volumes were mostly directed towards monastic libraries, in the greater context of the passage, it's saying, hey, even though we were focusing on initially on producing these Bibles for this population, the monastic population, it soon found a bunch of other applications and then spread very quickly into other areas of life. Okay, so I'm going to just look at B because I want to see what you think about B. It identifies the primary audience for these early printed volumes. It does that. Yes. Notice anytime there's a comma, there's like a different statement being made, and we need to make sure every single statement is correct. So the first one is correct, indicating that the printing press initially catered to a narrow group before expanding its reach to diverse readers. Okay, this looks good. Let's just make sure there's nothing better. There might be something better. Let's make sure. This says nothing about the early financing of the printing press, so this is off topic. A is a off topic wrong answer choice. Okay, it also said nothing about that printing was aligned with his spiritual priorities. This is a speculative jump. That's that wrong answer pattern. It makes a speculative leap. It implies that monastic libraries were the chief drivers of the printing rapid growth. We don't know this, and maybe this is even kind of evidence against it a little bit. Because they say here actually that there was a surge in these other things afterwards. So maybe those things were more responsible. So there's a little bit of evidence here that this might even be factually incorrect. So we have all the different wrong answer patterns here, which are good to know. So that's very good. Okay, B is definitely the right answer here. So nice job. All right. Let's continue. Try this one. And then we'll take a break and I'll just have like a little ask me anything. You can ask me any questions. All right, I caught it. Okay, so we are split. Some people think B, some people think D. Maybe an A, but maybe that was the previous one. I'm not sure. Okay, let's take a look. So archaeologists excavated some new thing, and they discovered a set of circular enclosures. Notice how I'm simplifying. We can keep the dates. I don't think it's going to be important, but they found these circular enclosures. Okay, they have some carvings, suggesting some ritual value. Now, this is another function question. So we are going to really turn on the attention here. Some scholars propose that the enclosure's positioning may reflect intentional alignment with celestial events such as solar cycles. So they're basically saying, hey, the way that they position these things was meant to align with the sun in some way, or cycles, or whatever. Okay. Which then would have more ceremonial significance. So it's more evidence for that. However, no evidence currently supports the idea that they served water management or agricultural functions. Okay, so we've got some evidence against a utilitarian function, like that they didn't have these other functions. But I guess that means that they definitely still could have the ritual function. So what does this particular one do? It suggests like a hypothesis or an idea of what this could have been. That there was some kind of ceremonial significance here. So let's take a look at the answer choices, and let's look very closely because we're split. So it maintains that any ceremonial interpretation, I'm not liking this word, any ceremonial interpretation of the enclosures is undermined by the absence of agricultural tools. Well, this, even if this was true, this statement is not doing that at all. So this is very strange. This is like very extreme. Not a fan of A. Okay, it rebuts claims. I don't think it's doing that either. Like right off the bat, it's just proposing something. Right? So I don't like B. I don't like B here at all, because it's not rebutting the claim that they're used for worship. It's actually going in the other direction. So this is also going to be wrong. It acknowledges the possibility of solar symbolism. Symbolism? No. It's not a symbol. They're trying to align it with the sun. It's not a symbolic thing. This answer choice is trying to trick you into thinking that because it's ceremonial and ritual, that it would have to do with symbolism. And then there's evidence against this next part of it, that it was an irrigation system. So this is wrong for two reasons. So it's got to be D. We didn't even read it yet, but it's got to be D. Okay, nice. It underscores the theory of celestial orientation. Sure. So funny way to say that, but okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So I don't like this symbolic jump here, but this is certainly better than C for a lot of reasons, so it's got to be D. This is going to happen sometimes where it's not going to be like a perfect answer choice, and still you have to get used to that D is definitely better than C. So, and it is correct. Okay, let's pause for a moment and let's just check in. How's everyone doing? And do you have any questions? Any questions about anything? I usually pause in like an hour or so just to give us a little break. I didn't do it the last time, but I wanted to. I just don't have a little like break timer, but we should take a little break. But I also wanted to give us an opportunity to check in and answer any questions you might have. So any questions about anything, SAT related, college related, anything on your mind, any particular question? I just kind of created these random questions here to mimic the module 2 of the SAT. But if there's something specifically you want me to work on, let me know. We do have some more time here. And if you want to pull up some other questions, we can do that. It's nice to see 5 people in the room. Hello. If you haven't introduced yourself yet, too, feel free to do that. Let me know what your weaknesses are. What are your SAT weaknesses? Sheldon asks, how often do you do these streams? I just started. I'm a new YouTuber. I just started this, and I'm actually enjoying it so much that I'm planning on doing them weekly, but I haven't decided on the day yet. It's probably not going to be a Friday. I think some of you are on the other end of the world, so it might be Saturday for you. But for me, it's Friday. I'm not going to do it on this day, probably. Very unlikely I will do it on a Friday. I'm probably going to do it on either a Tuesday, a Wednesday, or a Thursday for an hour. Or I might do it on a Sunday. Yeah, we'll have to see. Emma says, I'm bad with geometry and trig. How is your other math? Like, what's your current SAT score, if you don't mind sharing? I ask because geometry and trig is very, it's not that prominent on the SAT. You're going to want to know circles. You're going to want to understand a few things about circles. We can maybe do a couple of circle problems if you want. And the trig stuff, the only real trig, you have to know SOHCAHTOA. You have to know the definitions of sine, cosine, and tangent in terms of the ratios of the angles. And you also should know for the SAT the complementary angle formula, which is just the thing where if you have a right triangle, the sine of this angle, let's say, is also equal to the cosine. It's also equal to the cosine of this. It's equal to the cosine of this. So it's the cosine of like 90 minus theta. I'm just doing it very quickly so you know what I'm talking about. But this is called the complementary angle formula. This is the only trig that the SAT seems to care about beyond SOHCAHTOA. So, thank you for letting me know. I am sorry. I drew this. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I'll put this back. I was just showing the little triangle there. That's all. Okay. So basically, if your math is strong, I'll say this. If you are currently getting above a 700, then it's really time to focus on the circles and the trig. If not, then just make sure you know the circle formula. I'll open up Desmos here. Let's do a quick thing. So let me move myself over. Okay, so the thing you're going to want to know about circles is that a circle formula is x minus some number. We'll add a slider for it. Squared. And then plus y minus some number. We'll create a constant for that, and that's squared. And that equals the radius squared. It knows it's a circle. So this, if I make r bigger, that's going to make the radius bigger. Y, which is in the b, which is in the y section here, is, let's actually call this y1 because that's clearer. And let's call this x sub 1. That way it's a little bit clearer what we're dealing with. Okay, the x is going to move it left and right. That makes sense. That's what we would expect. And the y is going to move it up and down. And obviously the r is the radius. So this is one thing that you should know for the SAT. This is very important, this formula. And x1, y1 is the center of the circle. This is the location of the coordinates of the center of the circle. So if we have x1, y1, whoops, I got the parentheses around the wrong thing. Okay, and we label that. That is going to be the center of the circle. And that's always going to move if I move any of these things. You see that? So that's going to move. And this is going to move that way too. And so this x1, if you just keep an eye on these numbers, whatever these numbers are, if it's a 5 here, well then if there's a 5, then the circle has an x coordinate at 5 right here. If this y1 is a -2, then this is going to be positive actually, because it's y minus -2, right? So this is actually going to end up being plus 2. It's going to look like plus 2. Then it's going to have this center at the -2. So that's all that's going on. If you know this formula, you'll be able to plug in some circle questions into Desmos like this. Watch my Desmos wrap. If you haven't seen my Desmos wrap yet, I have a Desmos. You can look at my. I'll put the link. Let me put the link in the chat for you, so you've got it. Let me pause this. Okay, so definitely watch the Desmos wrap here, and I should do like a deep dive on Desmos at some point, like a live stream on it as well. But this will give you just like a little introduction to it and what you should know and how to do all that. If you're below a 700, Emma, then I would suggest really mastering the linear equations, system of linear equations. For example, like dealing with systems of equations where you've got two things and you have to figure out where they intersect. Like these, and get really good at noticing where the solutions are. This is a solution. It's where they touch. Get really good at dealing with how to make these parallel. Get really good at dealing with parabolas and how they relate to these things as well. It's another important thing. This is where they touch. My Desmos video goes over some of this stuff very quickly, but it introduces a lot of the really important stuff there. You're just going to want to know the general formulas for everything. So like, y equals mx plus b is obviously a really important one, right? With m being the slope and b being the y-intercept. So that's obviously a very important one. And obviously another one that you're going to want to do is the general formula for a parabola. This is also super important. So as we change these things, they do specific things. This is the y-intercept. C is the y-intercept. Can we do some challenging math problems? Sure, I'll open up one of the SAT tests and we'll continue. I think we were doing the old one, the 2. We'll continue to do some old ones. Yeah, that's good. I was making some, and I was like, I guess I was looking for really, really hard ones and I couldn't find them. But Emma, basically learn all of the formulas for lines, for parabolas, learn vertex form, learn exponential forms of equations, and just practice getting very, very comfortable with those. That's where you're going to get most of your math grade from, is mastering those kinds of things. Okay, so we have a request for some math. Let me see. Sheldon says, I have a college-related question. I'm an early college student at a community college. I want to know how I can get into a top business school. My GPA is 3.9. Could you transfer into an Ivy? Yeah, you could. You definitely could. Just keep in mind that Ivies, like, even if you're a perfect candidate, you could get rejected. You could have a 1600 SAT score, a 4,000, you could have a 5,000 GPA. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but you could have an extremely high GPA, be a perfect candidate, and they just need someone on their rowing team, right? And they've got so many people applying that they could find someone with all of your stuff that they love about you, but then also is like a rower, right? So that's kind of the weird situation that schools with a below 10% selectivity That's the problem you run into them, that you just, it's a dice roll at that point. I've helped students get into Harvard. I've had multiple students go to Harvard, Duke, Brown. Like, I've helped students get into these schools, but they applied to a lot of schools. They applied to like 12 Ivies, and like they were really gung ho on this. And even if you apply to 10 or 12 Ivies, you have to do all the supplementals. It's very intense. And you still only have like a 30 or 40% chance of getting in, even if you apply to all of the really high top tier schools. I'm saying top tier schools, not Ivies, I meant. So just keep that in mind. What I always suggest is don't get so worried. Okay, let me 1 second here. Let me finish this. Ozba has another question. I'll get to it. The more important thing than going to an Ivy, it's the other thing that you have to consider is that your generation reputation of schools is mattering less and less and less and less and less. The job market that you're entering into, there's all sorts of companies that are just like releasing their deals with the Ivies. They always have like these deals. Oh, we're only going to hire from Harvard. We're only going to hire from this school. Those deals are dissolving because they're realizing that they're losing competitive advantage. If they're just limiting themselves to this one school, they can get better candidates by opening it up. So a lot of the advantage of going to an Ivy is also dissolving. It might not even exist by the time you graduate. It's kind of like this old thing that it got passed down, but be careful of putting all your eggs in the basket of reputation, because reputation is becoming less and less and less important for anything that matters, for anything other than like bragging rights, for getting a job, for getting paid very well, for starting a business, whatever. It just doesn't matter. There are studies on this that shows that it doesn't matter. So what I would suggest is, instead of getting caught up, if you want to go to an Ivy, I'll support you, whatever you want to do, I'll support you. But I also want I encourage you to open your mind to figuring out a school that's a real fit for you. Don't worry about if it's an Ivy or not or whatever. Figure out if it's a fit for you. Are the people like the kind of people you want to be around? Is the environment really good for you? Do you feel like you're going to thrive in that kind of environment? Are the programs at the school really good for what you want to study? Does it have renowned teachers in those disciplines? Those are the things that are going to matter a lot more for your experience, not to mention the financing of all this. You might be able to get a full tuition scholarship somewhere, and you can take all the money that would have gone to college. You can pay for a house when you're 21 and you can rent it out to your friends and make money and never pay rent for the rest of your life. There's a lot of really creative, cool things you can do besides spending $200,000 on a name brand degree. So I'm just one person on the internet. That's it's like what I typically tell people. That's what I would have done if I could do my life all over again. But you have to figure out what your goals are, what your priorities are, and what your values are. And yes, but you can transfer in to an Ivy, and you can transfer into those schools. Graduate programs are more important for the Ivies anyway. This is another thing that I'll just say before we move on to the next topic, is that graduate programs are a lot more important. If you are going to go to an Ivy, the undergraduate is much less important than the graduate programs. But again, I had a friend that went to Columbia, and she thought that the program that she went to was very not well done. And so even though you can find a college that has a great undergraduate program, in general, they might not have a great program in what you care about. So just make sure you're researching all those things and not getting caught up in the hype of a reputation. Does that make sense? Okay, let's see. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about any of that. Okay, and Ozba says, can't enter the chat. She's asking for tips on the problem solving and data analysis. Okay, why don't we go into, I don't have any of those questions made, so let's go into Khan Academy And let's try a few of those questions, and then we'll do some hard questions to end. Move myself out of the way here. All right. All right. So by the way, yeah, you're going to want to, it's good to kind of do this in order. If you want to, if you don't have any guidance or a tutor at all, one of the best things you can do is just go down. Just do these stars, identify your weaknesses, and then drill your weaknesses, and it'll bring you kind of from easy to hard over time. So that's just a simple way to do this. Let's start with a medium question, because I don't know where her skill level is. So let's try this, and let's go down to the unit test, and let's see. I'm going to have to open Desmos up here too. I don't think we need Desmos for this one, but I'll open it up anyway. Okay, so give this one a try. I'll give you 30 seconds for this. This is a very quick question, actually. All right, give your answers, and we'll go over it. Okay, I'm going to start going over this because I want to show you that this is a very easy question if you know the pattern, which is true for almost all the questions on the SAT. Once you get comfortable with the questions and the patterns, it gets very easy. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do vertical viewing. Vertical viewing is I'm just looking at the answer choices and I want to know what they're asking me. It's never a good idea to do a question kind of blind and just start reading stuff and reading tables. It's so easy to get into emotional informational overload, and your brain just starts to shut down. So if you can get a sense of purpose when you're reading a question, you know exactly what to look for, you can do it very quickly. So the first thing I do is I notice that this is trying to get me to distinguish between whether something is linear or exponential. That's what's going on here. And then it's going to give a reason. So we have to figure out if this is linear or exponential and why. So if something is linear, it's going up by the same amount every single time. This is the definition of what makes something linear. For every one increase that we go over, we're going to go up or down a certain amount. We're going to go up 2 every single time or something like this. Whereas a exponential, if I'm in the beginning of the exponential over here, then I'm increasing very slow. My rate of change is very slow. If I'm over here in the exponential, my rate of change is incredibly high. So the rate of change of an exponential changes over time. That's what makes it an exponential. And the rate of the increase is proportional to the point that it's at. So at this point, the rate of increase is proportional to the value at this point. That's what that means. So this point is small over here, so it increases a little bit. This point is a little bit bigger, it's going to increase a little bit more, etc. So what I'm looking for here is what is the increase here? Is it consistent? Is it consistent or not? It looks like it's going up by 15 every time. So one of our variables, let's call it x, it might be y, but whatever, it's still going up at a consistent amount. What about this? This also looks like it's going up by 2 or 3. It's like approximately 2 or 3. It's kind of like approximately, let's say approximately 3. Whatever, it's close to 3. It doesn't have to be the same exact number. It just has to be close. Because remember, this is data. I wish I could erase I have to always erase the whole thing. I don't know how to erase part of it. But anyway, this is going up by 3 and this is going up by 15. So it looks like we have a constant increase in the percentage of this thing here. Percent compression is going up by the same amount. That's a very linear thing. Where every 15 we go over here, we're going up about 3%. So this looks like a linear increase, but there's something we need to be careful of. Percents. Percent changes are typically exponential, but I think they're trying to trick us here. So let's read the problem very closely and make sure that we're not wondering about a percent increase like doubling. Doubling would be a percent increase by 200%, right? So doubling, when you're doubling something, it looks like, 2, 4, I'm doing it, you can't see, 2, 4, 8, 16. Notice how it's not going up by the same amount every time. This is going up by 2, but then we go up by 4, and then we go up by 8. So it's not increasing by the same amount every time. So this is doubling or increasing by 200%. So we have to be careful when we see percent that we're not dealing with an exponential, because percent change is an exponential thing. They're trying to trick us here though, because this is not asking us about the percent that it is going up by 50% each time. The percent is just the unit. It just happens to be the unit that they're talking about here. So let's just make sure of that. Yeah, this is just the unit that we're searching for. This is not the percent change of this is not going up by a percent each time. It's going up by 3 every time. So this is going to be linear. It's not going to be exponential. And the reason why has to be because it's going up by the same amount every single time, which is about 15. It turned out that this was the y. So it's not going to be because it doubles. Doubling is an exponential thing. This is what doubling. I keep drawing where my picture is. This is doubling. Doubling looks like an exponential. It doesn't look like a line. So it's not going to double. So the key with this was just knowing your properties of lines and exponentials, knowing them through at the conceptual level is super important. An exponent, like that's what I was talking about in the beginning of this section. And a line is going up by a constant amount. It doesn't matter where you are. A line is always going on the same thing everywhere. Yes. Yeah, we can go to a harder level. Is your friend gonna be good with that? I don't mind. We can do one though. Let's go to an advanced one. How was that? Did that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about that? Was that a hard one for you? Or easy? Oh, this is a cool one. All right, try this one. Okay, cool. Got it. All right, we'll give this another 30 seconds and then we'll go over it. Cool, we got some. I'm going to try something on Desmos too. I wonder if it can do, because this is a weighted mean problem. I just started to wonder if we could multiply two lists together, because we're gonna have to multiply these together. I wonder if there's a fast way to do it. I'm curious. I'm very curious. Okay, let's go over this one. Yeah, you can do that too. But you still have to do all the calculations, don't you? Oh, you just did that and then you figured it out that the mean was 21. That's cool. I like that. That's a cool method. Okay, let's go over this one. Let's talk about it. The time in minutes, rounded to the nearest minute, that runners took to finish a 3-mile race is shown above. If the mean, so they're giving us the mean, and then we have a mysterious value that we have to figure out. And you know that the mean is just the sum of everything divided by the number of the things, and that is going to equal 21. Now we have to do a weighted sum here because there's one runner that finished in 18 minutes, so that's going to be 18. But there's two runners that would finish 19, that's going to give us 38. So we have to make sure we're adding up the 38 as well. So let me I have to figure out this annotation thing. It's very annoying that the annotations disappear whenever I want to do anything, but it's okay. Let me can I write it here? Sum, no, I can't. Okay, anyway, well, sum is a cool thing there. Anyway, let's just do this. But what I was curious about is instead of writing all these things out, which you could do this. I'm very curious if we could do a list of numbers. I'm just curious. I just want to try this. I'm going to try it with two numbers first. And let's see if this will work. Can we do a linear combination of this? Okay, can we add them up? That would be useful. That would be a cool thing. Can we do this? No, I tried to type in sum. There's gotta be a way to do this. If you can just add them together, that would be a very cool way to do this. No, it wouldn't be join. Maybe you can't. Maybe you have to sum these. No. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. I'm just curious. There's got to be a way to do this. There's got to be a way. But anyway, you could do this, but I guess it's easier to do it the conventional way. So 20 times 3, 21 times 6. Now 22 times r. We're going to add r as a slider until it equals 21. We're going to see. 21 times r plus 23. There's just 1, so we don't need to multiply it by 1. 24 times 3. Okay, and all of this, that is going to, what does this equal, right? Well, this whole thing, if you get to this point and you forgot that you wanted to make this a fraction, you can just do a closing parentheses there, and it will create a parentheses in the beginning for you. If you ever get this far and you're like, oh man, I wanted this to be a fraction. Now we're going to, oh, did I put something in wrong? 24 times 2. Yeah, thank you. This is going to be over the number of the people. So this is 3, 6, 12, 13, 15 plus r. This is going to be 15 plus r. Unless I made a mistake there. And we know that this number has to equal 21. Whatever pops out here, which depends on the value of r, it has to equal 21. So we can see we have to make it go bigger. And it looks like 2, r of 2 gives it a value of 21. We can check that r of 3 is not going to work. It's going to be too big, and r of 1 is too small. So that's a cool way to do this and to use sliders to help you out to do that. I can put this out here. Okay, any questions on that or comments on that? All right. Let's try this one. Okay, this is going to be tough because, let me see if I can open this in 2 places. So you can see the problem over here at the same time as the thing. And let me move myself out of the way. Put myself up here. Okay, so now you should be able to see the whole problem. I don't need to see the graph twice. This one's also not bad. I'll give you another 30 seconds because this is a quick one. Okay, so let's go over this. All right, this is a very quick one. Now, all you got to do, we're going to do vertical viewing, look at the answer choices and see what it's asking us to do. And I see that these are all quadratics. Okay, these are all quadratics because the highest exponent is a 2. There's nothing else going on in it. So these are all quadratics and they happen to be in vertex form. Now, vertex form is a x minus h squared plus k, and the vertex is at hk. So if you didn't know that, this is a very important thing to remember, to have memorized. This is the vertex form of a quadratic, and it tells you where the vertex is. The vertex of A is, it's suggesting that it is at negative 32, and 1.12. This would be the x and the y coordinate. Why is it negative 32? Because it says positive 32 here, but in vertex form, there's a minus sign there. So this is saying that the vertex is going to be negative. That doesn't make any sense. We can eliminate this right off the bat. Right? So now here, B is going to be, it's saying that it has an X, Y value here. If we look at this, it looks like if I just draw something here, like a quadratic, it looks like the vertex should have an X value of 30 something, like 32 in the answer choices. And the Y value should be like 1.12. So we can see what we want this to be, right? We want our X and Y value here to be of the vertex to be 32 and 1.12. So in order to get that, we need a negative 32 here. That's going to give us our H value that is a positive 32. Because the form has a minus sign in it, all we're looking at is the number, and the number is 32. We disregard the minus sign as a constant here because we're subtracting H. If H is 32, then we're subtracting 32. So that's what's going on there. And our K value, which is our X value, is C. So that's all that's going on here with this. Super fast problem. This one also gets the X and the Y confused. So if you know vertex form, this problem is a cinch. It's super easy if you know vertex form. If you don't know vertex form, this one can get a little annoying to do. You could Desmos this. I really don't recommend Desmosing this, but you could, if you really wanted to, you could do a table. You type in table here, and you can actually try and put these points in, and you can run a regression and literally get the answer. But it's going to give you the answer not in vertex form, which is going to be even more annoying. So you have another step to do. So this is really annoying. But what you can do is I'm just going to take a few points. I'm not going to put everyone in, but I'm going to put 3 points in. Let's say 7, X, and we have a Y of, it looks like 0.9. And then I'm going to take 25X, which is over here. And let's get this zoomed out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. 25 is closer to 1.12, let's say. I guess we can zoom in a little bit. And the scales are different, so it's not going to look the same unless we change the scales. And then let's take another point all the way at the end. And this is going to be 70. And this is going to be 0.9. So this is an important thing to know. If you're doing a regression problem, a regression is a something of best fit. This is a quadratic of best fit problem. Can we just change the axis here? Let's change the axis from 0 to 80, like the thing here. So this will be a little bit, did I change the wrong axis? That's the y-axis. 0 to 80. And this one, we want the x-axis. I changed the wrong axis. This is 0 to 80, sorry. And this y-axis is going to be 0 to 1.5. Okay, now it's going to look a lot more like our problem here. And if we want it to be blue, we can make it blue, just like the problem. And we're going to click on this button here that says add regression. And we want to add a quadratic regression. So this is trying to make a line right now. We don't want a line. We want a quadratic. So we're going to click on this quadratic. And now it made the quadratic for us. This is the quadratic that it made. Let's export that. So we have it over here. This is an export button that gives it a new line over here. This is a little bit ridiculous, these numbers. But what we can then do, and I'm not going to put all of them in, is you can literally now just compare them if you wanted to. Now, you didn't have to do the regression. I just wanted to show you how to do it because it's cool and it's helpful and it doesn't take that long when you know how to do it. If you put this in, you can see that it's pretty close. It's pretty close. And if you put the other ones in, they're not going to be close at all. Like if you get this wrong, this is going to be very very different. And this would be 32. So this is going to be off. This is going to be way off, right? This is totally off. It's like totally off, right? So you can just do this and you'll notice that the green one is the only one that comes close. This is the only one that even comes close. All the other ones are going to be very, very far away. Do I have any tips to make this section faster? Do a lot of problems. Do a lot of problems. I know it's coming up tomorrow. If you're scoring as high as you are, you're fine. So believe in yourself. I think that might be the problem, is just believe in yourself, actually. Trust yourself, because if you're getting like a 1550 or 1570, you're doing just fine. You have no reason to doubt yourself. And you also don't need to go fast. Just go fast enough. That's something sometimes people have trouble with is, did you know vertex form for this problem? Or did you miss that this was a vertex form thing? I guess that's my first question. Because you can do this in 10 seconds if you know vertex form. So did you know vertex form? Or do you know vertex form, but you didn't think it applied to this problem? What happened in this problem that this one took you longer?